of 10 years, 1986 to 96, when the Uganda Human Rights Commission was established. There is a black spot in our history. We need to shine a light there. We are proposing that the National Reconciliation Bill should have been among the bills that the president read as a priority bill. Instead, most of the bills are amendments to entrench himself in power. You know, when I see constitutional amendment, I'm suspicious. When I see those amendments related to elections, I'm suspicious. But we need a law like that. We also need the compensation of war victims not to be based on the kindness and goodwill of an individual, whether he is the president or not. We need a war victims compensation law so that we know that this is something which we don't have to beg for. And it doesn't matter whether we have the cash or not. There are financial instruments, just like the issues of Uganda here. You wonder why they have to keep giving the compensation piecemeal. The government has the capacity to deploy the financial instruments like treasury bills and say, these are your treasury bills. They can mature in this number of years. And you can trade these treasury bills in a financial institution and get instant cash at a discount. What I know is that the political will is lacking to confront these issues. But we are going to insist anyway. After all, there is no timeline in the fight for justice.
Do you meet President Museveni? When was the last time you talked to him? I'd been told that he listens to you when you reach out to him, whether as a DP leader or, you know, as a leader from...
Of course, if we are going to do anything in this country, we cannot just leave him out of the equation. He has in his hands most of the levers of power. I last saw him, even these days I see him only on TV. I last saw him in 2011 when we were for the funeral of the late Colonel Walter Ochora. But I do believe that we don't have to talk about power. We don't have to talk about political positions. We just have to identify specific problems and agree on how to confront it. Like we agreed on how to close the IDP camps. We agreed on how to move the Juba peace process. I used to meet him, and they were not meetings about my personal interests. They were just meetings about saying, look, the camps are killing more people than Joseph Kony. So it is logical to find ways to close them. Secondly, we also said peace talks will provide an environment for the LRA to leave northern Uganda. Because the army was failing to contain the LRA. They were just running rings. They were in such small groups. And, you know, the UPDF is a strong army. But they really faced challenges containing the LRA in an area which is bigger than Rwanda and Burundi combined. So, after I returned from the north, and after which I'll consult with the other leaders, if he agrees, we can have a face-to-face conversation and talk about these issues. Because his input and buy-in is important. Because he seems now he has a veto power over everything in Uganda.
Let's go for a quick break, and when we come back, we shall start reading to Chairman Mao some of the questions and comments that you're sending. But let me remind you that this is the Ask program, and if you want to join in the debate, just write #ask, and we'll pick your questions and comments as they come in. Let's go for a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Is there anyone in the congregation Who has any valid reason as to why?
We are at the part when the priest is asking if anyone is objecting.
But you, man, you've been updating me from when you left the salon.
No, Nzenina MTN paka.
Hey!
The man has just walked to the front of the church. What about the bride's ex? You, listen. Can you speak louder, please?
Our 15 minutes bundle is now twice as big. Load 1,000 shillings to get 30 minutes and talk paka. Dial star 160 star 21 hash to get double the minutes with MTN paka.
MTN. Everywhere you go.
I said don't kill my rhythm, I am covered by the bass. My motor insurance is covered by the best. Nothing can kill my rhythm, I am covered by the best. Retirement can't kill my rhythm, I am covered by the best. Life has good rhythm when you're covered by the best. School fees, medical investments are covered by the best. If that's right now, I'm covered by the best. ICEA, how you do it is the best. At ICEA Group, we believe that you should live life with rhythm, uninterrupted rhythm. That is why we offer a unique and amazing range of insurance products that will help you protect and create wealth. Choose ICEA Group. Don't kill the rhythm.
You're going to love it. Set free the adventure, action, and laughter. Live the drama, guts, and glory. Love the learning, imagination, and happy ever afters. Embrace the music, passion,
Only you
and romance.
this world seem right.
Make room for even more of what you love and tap into unlimited viewing pleasure with the very best selection in locally produced favorites, international channels, and family entertainment. Go TV. Live it. Love it.
Welcome to Life Care Wellness Spa, dealers in all body care services and products. We have a variety of cosmetics from all over the world. Manicure and pedicure by a team of experts, a hair salon with the best technology, plus many other services. Facials, body wraps, GA therapy, massage, toning tables, and weight loss programs. Lose your weight in 15 days. We are open Monday to Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. Sundays and public holidays, 10:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Visit us at our different branches, Oasis Mall, Basement, and Ntinda. For more information, call. Visit our website www.lifecarebeautyspa.com. Life Care Wellness Spa. Relax your mind, body, and soul.
Hello, we are right back on air. My name is Charles Odongso, and this is the Ask Forum, and we are talking to Chairman Mao, Honorable Nobert Mao, who is the DP President General, but also a former MP for Gulu Municipality. He tried to come back in this parliament, in the 10th parliament, but was stopped because of certain things that probably he will find time to tell us. Honorable, before we went into the break, you were talking about the issue, the need for, reaching out to government and government reaching out to leaders. Some of these things are not now an issue that is only for maybe Gulu, where there has been tension this week. Like I said earlier, we have seen it in Kasese, we have seen it in Kapchorwa. we have also seen, you know, some of that kind of tension in some other areas. But how do you make this a national question? How do you leaders, especially leaders of political parties, make it an issue where there is consensus building, starting from the parties? Because look at, for example, immediately after the election, the FDC are saying we need, you know, a negotiation, we need dialogue. The NRM is saying that no, what kind of dialogue do you need when we won the election? And then FDC looks like they are only negotiating with government and leaving aside others. You come later. Where do we get the merging point? Where will that point come from? And are you people really doing it the best, you know, are you using the best procedure?
Charles, state building is about building a consensus on the values that can hold the country together. Things that we share, irrespective of our political differences. You can't hold the country together using machine guns, using threats. You can't arrest everybody. You can't even kill everybody anyway. If even the lions cannot finish the animals in the bushes, which sort of dictator thinks he can finish everybody? It is not possible. It is an exercise in futility. So my suggestion is that we have to recognize that at any historical moment, there is a consensus that holds a political entity together. We went to Lancaster. We worked out some consensus, albeit uncomfortable.
This is the 1961?
Yes. The 1962 Constitution was the consensus. That consensus collapsed in 1966. Then we had something imposed. That is now not, when the 66 Constitution came, then the 67 Republican Constitution came, that was now imposed using the tyranny of numbers. And many things happened, including an assassination attempt in 1969. Then Idi Amin came and imposed another
reign.
Really his own consensus of his own group. It was not a national consensus. Then dissidents went to Moshi. They had the Moshi consensus. They came back, that consensus collapsed at intervals, and finally when the military commission took over. The group that was armed, in fact the NRA was a faction of UPC that had formed itself into
the Kikosi Malum group.
UPM, really, because most of them really could trace themselves to UPC.
Yes.
That is how they had any semblance of power. They went and constructed a kind of consensus in Luwero, the Luwero consensus. As I speak now, the Luwero consensus has collapsed. President Museveni thinks that the Luwero consensus has not yet collapsed. The fact that now you have generals openly standing against him, you have General Biraro, General Muntu, you have his former national political commissar, the high priest of their ideology, Kanokiza Besigye, now in chains. The fact that the comrades who stood by him, I understand even Jim Muhwezi is now very unhappy. Of course, some people are unhappy.
But he is unhappy because of not getting a ministerial slot.
That kind of unhappiness is easy to appease, because
it can be given
it is just, if it is just the stomach grumbling, a little food can silence the grumbling in the stomach. But for us, the issues we are talking about have nothing to do with grumbling of stomachs. It is about the values that are being devalued, namely the dignity of the human person, the sense of justice, sense of equity in the country. and then respect for laws above all. These are the things that we want to talk about. And it is okay. Even Mubarak had won an election by 99%. By the time he realized that the people actually were not aware of his victory, it was too late. The same applies to the president of Tunisia. So winning...
One of the most popular was the one of Saddam Hussein.
Saddam also used to win.
I think got an 89%, and 2 or 3 years later he was toppled by...
Yeah, and now Uganda is a very young population. And dealing with the frustration of the young requires big thinking. And I think anybody who reduces the dialogue to a question of who is president, who is vice president, who is prime minister, that person is missing the point. What we need is to have consensus. We want to discuss the economy also. I mean, the president is talking about the middle income goal. Actually, anybody who opposes that goal of a middle income would be an idiot. Whether you're in the opposition, you'd be very silly to stand up and say, I'm opposed to the middle income. But are we going to be a middle income in real terms when people have a qualitative improvement in their life? Or is it going to be a mathematical middle income like Guinea-Bissau? You know, Guinea-Bissau is a middle income country now, mathematically, because of the oil revenue. So Uganda can also mathematically become a middle income. It's like you can increase the GNP of your village if you win a lottery. Because the money will be spread, but that is only
your money. You are rich and it is spread to the poor.
But that is only mathematical, because in real terms the money they don't have.
Yeah.
So if two of us, you have $1 billion per year as your income, mine is only 1 million per year. So it is 1 billion plus 1 million divided by 2.
Yes.
So mathematically, I'm a very rich man in terms of income per capita.
Someone called Andy Styles says, let Mao explain to us when DP will make it to the top office in the land. And he's reminding me about complaints that I have had some people say out there in public, that you led DP to TDA, to Honorable Mbabazi, and that you made DP weaker.
We have debated that for a very long time. I didn't take the decision alone. We were in TDA. We assessed the candidates. We listened to them make a presentation. I was even there in the meeting of only 4 people. Nobody was in the room. Myself, Kano Besije,
Mbabazi and Bukenya.
Mbabazi, Professor Bukenya. Only 4 of us. And I'm the one who took the notes. Actually, the day I write my book about the failure of coalition building in Uganda, some people may leave town. Because
you will expose...
Yeah, the truth is very different from this.
Say some of it here.
First of all...
Why did it collapse?
I will tell you plainly that we all agreed that even though the rule was that consensus means nobody is actively opposed, but the majority of the people in the TDA felt that dealing with Museveni, first of all, required togetherness, irrespective of who is fronted.
Unity across the other side.
When Kenya had NAC, obviously Kibaki was not the most inspiring candidate they could have. There were others. There was Charity Ngilu, Matiba, who had been harassed by Moi for years. There was Raila Odinga, there was Mudavadi. But they sat down and said, wait a minute. We need to throw at this man something that he cannot handle easily, something that he cannot respond to. And they chose Kibaki. Kibaki was even in a wheelchair. And they rallied around him. If we had rallied around the Honorable Mama Mbabazi, Of course, people say he's one and the same with Museveni. But who among the 3 top candidates were not NRA? They are all NRA, if really that's what you want. In fact, I was the only one who is not a branch of Museveni. If that was the major criteria, I should have been the automatic candidate. But DP has supported Kado Besigye before. It is DP that welcomed him in 2001. In 2006, the majority of DP actually supported him, even though we had a candidate that some of us supported. 2011, I was a candidate. 2016, I went, and because people always say Mao is too ambitious, he doesn't want to be led by anybody, he cannot be part of any unity unless he is the leader, I said, now, this time I want to follow, please lead. And together with our colleagues, we saw someone who we thought would be as good. You saw what Chadema did. They picked a former prime minister from CCM and made him their flag bearer. Kibaki was a former vice president of Moi.
Yes.
The truth of the matter is, in politics of coalition building and creating a democratic transition, you need flexibility. So rigidity failed TDA. I believe we took the right decision. Of course, Ugandans being impatient for change and not identifying the difference between those who talk about change and those who can actually bring change, they rallied around the ballot. So they united in their own way. And they voted. I don't know the extent to which we can say the results truly reflect. It is true we had some problems in our campaign. I think the NRM machinery put a lot of weight on fighting the Honorable Mama Mbabazi, freezing his funds, blocking the funds which were meant for conveying results. We had very sophisticated technology for election day management.
How could it be sophisticated if it could be blocked and frustrated?
Because at the end of the day, you need the service providers that are under the control of the Communications Commission. So the state can actually, it is like, even if you have a jet, you need an airport to land in. So if they say you can't land in Gulu,
and
you can't
permission for the airspace.
Yeah, so your sophisticated jet, you cannot land. It is as simple as that. Up to now, some T-shirts and other materials are still in containers because they were blocked. We haven't told the full story because we don't like grandstanding.
Why don't you tell the full story? Because we want to know the full story. We want to tell it out there. We want it's part of accountability.
Those were the stories which were in the evidence that was stolen. Those stories were going to be in the court. Anyhow,
so what is going to be the way forward? Now you
are
back.
For the Democratic Party,
yes,
I don't accept that the Democratic Party is weaker because the DP has got the strongest foundation in this country. And that is why...
What is the evidence?
We can change leaders regularly. Other parties cannot afford to look at another leader because, you know, the institutional framework is not strong enough to prop up a new leader. I'm DP president number 6. The other parties have a problem. I think I can tell you, talking about the NRM, for instance, there's no NRM after Yoweri Museveni. That one is almost a fact.
How? What makes it
I don't want to be a prophet, but...
Prophet Amos, prophet of doom.
No, I don't want to be a prophet of doom. But the way they talk, I think it has become a Tower of Babel, even with Museveni in charge. So I want to assure those who think that DP is weaker, DP is not weaker. As a matter of fact, we have been fought, we have had internal divisions, but DP is stronger because DP has found its unique voice, which was getting lost in a cacophony of the support we gave the Right Honorable Mama Mbabazi was based on the TDA framework. We didn't meet him in his house or on the streets. We didn't meet him anywhere. We met in TDA. That was the meeting place. And the rules under which we came together are the rules of the TDA. So those who are trying to blame me that, you know, we sold the party, we did what, that is very childish talk.
There are some questions which have come, but they are all related to the questions to the issues you have already tackled. The issue of killings in Acholi, in northern Uganda, and then the issue of Bunyor, of Kasese, linking it to Kasese. So let's first go to another issue. You tried to join Parliament, and you have seen Parliament has now taken off. They are now vetting the cabinet. I want to pick, the viewer to pick your brain. What do you make of this parliament? You wanted to be in it, you failed to be there, but you picked a dangerous substitute, someone which, amazingly, you just called someone, and in 1 hour, and the person had to drive to Gulu in the next few hours, and the person passed, meaning that you are so strong. Why do you want to come to this parliament, which probably, I don't know what your view of it is, and yet you could maybe make an impact in other areas?
Like what? Chairman of the National Oil Corporation.
I know you wouldn't get that. Well, because you would frustrate the oil investment.
Why? 70% of the oil is in Acholi land. Having me as the chairman of the National Oil Corporation would reassure the people not to sabotage.
Probably.
Anyway, that's a joke.
Yes.
So the point is, I never set out to be an MP. If you look at the records in the DP headquarters, I never applied. But it seems in 10 years, Gulu municipality had an empty chair in the parliament. That was the general view among the people. So there was a clamor, actually, not only from opposition. In fact, the first person to propose my name during a Thanksgiving after I had returned from hospital was the NRM district woman leader, who said, come back home and speak for us. It means I'm actually being kicked out of partisan politics. When I go home, I have difficulties even presenting myself as DP, because I'm in no position to chase away anybody. It looks like my people actually don't want to see me even to have a party. I'm being thrown away. The district chairman, Mr. Martin Mapenduzi, again proposed and said, we need someone like you. Now, how did I not end up on the voters list? I have explained that. The truth of the matter, I was just maliced. I wanted to vote. I went to my polling station in May before the expiry of the deadline. The Electoral Commission was negligent. And that is my case, which is in the Court of Appeal, in the Constitutional Court. I called the Vice Chairman of the Electoral Commission. Excuse me, sir, I am here. None of your staff is here for 2 days. I want to check my status. They said, well, if they're not there, when you come to Kampala, we'll sort it out. I knew I was on the register because I had a card, a voter's card, which had not been retired. When I reached Kampala, I felt very sick with a case of acute pneumonia. And I was taken to intensive care. I hear the Electoral Commission was taking these machines to hospitals, to homes of the elderly, those who were in their good books. But of course, Nobert Mao, being president of DP, probably from the wrong part of Uganda, they must have just said good riddance, because they knew I was sick. And I had called the second highest ranking person in the Electoral Commission. If they were not malicious, if they had goodwill, they would have said, check out the case of that Ugandan, who is even a leader of a national party, a former presidential candidate. They must have just said, thank God, he is not going to feature. So I just attribute it to malice and bad faith. And that is what I accused the Electoral Commission of.
But it has now been resettled.
They are not registering voters. They are just issuing IDs even to 16-year-olds.
So you did not even vote?
No, I never voted. I tried to go and explain to them. Anyway, the story is long. But the truth of the matter is that we are still in court. And I want court to find that the Electoral Commission failed in its constitutional duty to ensure that every eligible voter is registered. I was eligible. They knew my situation. They didn't do enough to get me on the register. In fact, it would take less than 1 liter of fuel to come to IHK to have me registered.
We are now running into our last minute, so let's try to wind up and round up some of these issues. So what is your take of this parliament? Do you have trust in it? You want it to be part of it? Do you think that it is going to be better than the 9th parliament?
I don't regret that I'm not in this parliament. I think the person who has been elected in Gulu municipality is excellent. I've scanned the horizon. I don't see anyone who could have been better than Leandro Komakech. He's an expert, technically speaking. He understands the issues. He has been a senior researcher. He has 2 master's degrees. He's extremely articulate. President of Uganda Young Democrats for so many years. He has the credentials. There are some bright lights in that parliament, but 60% are still wet behind the ears. Brand new members of parliament.
Yesterday you gave a talk to the opposition. You know, just in some 30 seconds, what's the challenge that they're going to face?
I told them
how can they surmount it?
That the opposition will not be very effective in legislation, but they should invest a lot in oversight. Because when it comes to oversight of the government, everybody, including the NRM, actually look to the opposition. It is the NRM people who give us information. They say, you talk in the floor, say this.
For us, we
I have this paper. So they depend on us. It is a kind of healthy democratic conspiracy. It is sometimes also, if I have a point which I think if I say will not be supported, I also am an NRM person. Those are tactics for achieving the goal. Let's give this parliament the benefit of the doubt.
Since it is just starting.
It is just starting. I am encouraged that it has a lot of young people. My only problem is the outbursts I've so far heard from some of our members. Unfortunately, some of them are associated with the DP, making outrageous demands on emoluments. I mean, they want what sort of car. Now, if you're a representative, you must really live the life of the people you represent, largely.
Yeah.
When I come to town, I find somebody sweating on a bicycle, carrying sugarcane. Those are the people the MPs represent. You find the market women sitting in the dust. I see 7-year-old girls in the petrol station at night in the cold at 11 p.m. selling boiled maize, bogoya, and other things to get school fees. Those are the people we represent. Now, when you are an MP and you open your mouth and you say you need a car of 300 million, surely, are you a representative?
What are your predictions of the next 5 years in the politics? What's most likely to happen? Will this arrest cool down? Do you think that there is going to be a time when security nips it in the bud? Some people have hope that maybe the General Tumukunde, when he comes, having a hand in the past, you know, and all that, probably he will nip this in the bud and situations will settle. At a larger level of the politics in Parliament, what do you see as the prediction for the next 5 years?
From our side,
yes, from your point of view.
We are going to intensify the pressure on the regime to open up more space, which is being restricted. NGOs are crying, the media is crying, business community is crying, the government has no fiscal discipline. That's why taxation is very high. So we must sustain the pressure on the regime in the next 5 years. But over the next 5 years, there will also be a lot of internal stress in the NRM as the succession battle now becomes intense between the 9 families that allegedly controls the presidency. I have heard about the 9 households.
So the 9 households.
I heard it when I was in Chiruhura district. Because
what did they tell you?
They talked about the 9 households. I'll mention them another time.
We have run out of time.
So the rest of the NRM versus the 9 households. So there's likely to be a lot of internal stress. The kind of promotions in the army that appear not to be based on any strict formula aligned with the law. those are going to create stress.
And what is the position of Besigye? What is the position of Mao? What is the position of Mbabazi quickly in this jostling for power?
We regret that we were not able to come together to face the NRM. That is the thing I regret the most. I don't know my contribution to that failure to build a consensus, but I think all of us should apologize to Ugandans because we have delayed change by not coming together. I think Kano Besigye will continue to be an important factor in Uganda. He is having a very strong brand.
Personality.
People believe in him, and some of us, we belong to the third generation. The first generation is those born in the 20s and 30s, the Obotes and so on. That's if a generation is 20 years. Then the Museveni, Besigye generation, those born in the 40s and 50s. Our generation is those of us born in the 60s and 70s. That's the third generation, in which even the Muhozis fall.
So you're going to compete against.
Then the fourth generation is also now the majority. Those born in the 80s and 90s. They are putting pressure on us. So the future of Uganda is largely going to be determined by this third generation to which you and I belong. Because that's the generation of the most skilled professionals, the bulk of the corporates, those leading all this. When I scan the horizon, the top commanders in the army, the police, all of these are people of my generation.
80s, 70s.
The question is, can we form a new consensus? Then it will be possible for us to hand over to the next generation. But our time will be very short.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, who knows? God may also be having another plan. For us, we may remove term limits, but God has never removed his term limits.
The last one, really the last one. Any regrets? Someone said Nobert Mao must be asked this. He has never said this. Any regrets in your politics so far?
I think the failure for us to come together, as I said.
Just in this one? Before that, you didn't have any regrets?
Of course, I was born 1 year too late. I wanted to stand for president in 2001, but I was not yet 35. That is one thing that I really regret.
Why? What would have been different?
I think at that time, first of all, we were not even having a multi-party system.
True.
And we were still in the 6th parliament mood. I don't know what would have happened. The other thing is, I should have been a candidate in 2016. Yeah, because as you notice, 6 of the candidates were from Ankole and Kigezi. 6 out of 9. You know, two communities.
Yeah.
Actually, the entire Greater North.
And East.
Well, East
had Chalia.
East has had Chalia, who in the debate appeared more like a footnote of the other candidates.
Your last word, Honorable.
I believe that Ugandans should not lose hope, because ultimately change will come, and who knows the kind of people who are going to bring change. As a believer in the Bible, I know that God kept Saul in power, and he wasn't the best of kings. But he kept Saul in power because David was not yet ready. So the day David is ready, Saul is definitely going to fall on his sword. So God is still preparing David. In the meantime, Ugandans must tolerate and bear with Saul. But God's will cannot be denied. This is a blessed country. That's why we have all these natural resources. We have very intelligent people. Our doctors are the best. Even when I get on an aeroplane and go to Nairobi, I meet a Dr. Lule. Even if you go to South Africa, you'll meet a Ugandan. We are a blessed country. But again, we are like the Congolese. They said that when God was distributing wealth, he gave diamond in South Africa, gave Ugandan a bit of oil, gave copper to Zambia, that when God reached Congo, he was tired. So he decided to leave everything which was remaining there.
So much natural resources.
And the angels said, God, this is unfair. How can you give one country so much? God said, this is not a blessing. Wait and see the kind of leaders I will give them. And he gave them Mobutu. So, in Uganda, it is our leaders who are putting a discount on our prosperous future. But it is not too late for us to reverse the trend. After all, it is our country. The one thing Museveni cannot do is to deny that you are not part of this country. Even if you're in exile, you are still an exiled Ugandan. Even if he kills you, you die as a Ugandan.
Thank you.
So Ugandans should have hope. That's my last word.
Hope is what you should have. That's the word, the last word coming there. Brilliant hope from Honorable Nobert Mao, Chairman Nobert Mao, former MP, former Chairman of Gulu Municipality, current DP President General, former former Guild President of Makerere University. So many formers in him, but of course he remains very ambitious indeed.